Bismillah Rahman Rahim, my dear YouTube family members. I hope you would be fine and would be having a great fun. I'm really sorry I couldn't upload a video for a long time. Actually, I was busy and couldn't manage some time. But let's start and let's get it right. So, some students they made a question in comment section in my previous video that I have to make a new video on Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. And if you have gone through past papers of competitive exam and in 2020 paper of gender studies, question number 8, that was much relevant to Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, that you have to tell the background of the two Oscar-winning documentaries by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. So basically, in these two documentaries, two issues which were going to be highlighted. One issue that was pertinent to Easter attack, and the other issue that relates with the honor killing. So if you're going to go through this question, so it would also cover your 2017 paper, question number 8A of 2017 gender studies paper, that is talking of honor killing. So basically in this video, your two questions, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy documentary, okay, and the second that was regarding honor killing. So these two questions would be covered in today's audio, okay. So I hope so that it would be very fruitful to you as well. Okay, if you're talking of some, we have to start from the introduction of Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. As you know very well, when we're talking of some other case studies like Malala Yousafzai, you can say Mukhtar Mai. So examiner is also going to ask some basic questions, that where Malala was born, you can say where Mukhtar Mai belongs to which area, something like that. This is also very important, that you need to have some basic information that is pertinent to Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy as well. So when we're talking of Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, so you can say that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy was a Pakistani Canadian filmmaker, journalist, and activist, and she made a history because she is the first Pakistani who received 2 Oscar awards, and she was lucky enough that her name was going to get pronounced twice in Los Angeles. For the first time in 2012, her name was pronounced at Kodak Theatre when she was given Oscar Award for Saving Face. And for the second time, her name was pronounced at Dolby Theatre in 2016 when she was given Oscar Award for A Girl in the River. Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy was born in 1978 Karachi, and she received her early education from Karachi Grammar School, and then she went to United States. She studied economics and government in her bachelor degree, and she did it from Smith College. And when we're talking about her education, so she received 2 master degrees, one is in communication field, and the other degree was in the field of international policy study. These 2 master degrees she received from Stanford University, that is based in California. Okay, so Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy was very hardworking lady, and all the time she showed unwavering commitment. And we can infer her abilities on this fact, that she never studied film. Even then, she received 2 Oscar awards. So that is a result of her hardworking attitude. And she also made a record that she is the first female director who received 2 Oscar awards. Okay, and she received 2 Oscar awards by the age of 37. Okay, so when we're talking of her first Oscar award, that was a Saving Face. At that time, co-author was Daniel Jung. Okay. So basically, the director of Saving Face was Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy as well as Daniel Jung. Okay. When we're talking of these documentaries, obviously I'm talking of Saving Face and the second documentary, A Girl in the River. So these two documentaries, they highlighted the overall situation of Pakistani women, that they have been suffering from various social issues, and they are going to face the issue of acid attack, and they are going to be killed in the name of honor. These documentaries, they are going to highlight gender inequality in Pakistan, and these documentaries also highlighting the issue of injustice, that Pakistani women, they are not going to be given equal treatment in this society. This is one of the reasons that Pakistan has been ranking as a second to last in terms of gender inequality in the world. And when we're talking of a global gender gap report, so from 2012 till 2019, Pakistan was going to be considered as a second to last. But in 2021, Pakistan is going to be considered as fourth to last when we're talking of gender inequality in the world. Okay, so Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, throughout her life, she raised the issues of women, and she was acting in this way that I have to raise a voice for women's rights. And women, they need to be given more justice in society. And when she was highlighting issues of women, especially when we're talking of a Pakistani society, and she was compiling her own documentaries, at the same time, she was facing some threats and she has to counter blackmailing as well. She was having some pressure that you don't need to make such documentaries, because if you make such documentaries in the word negative side of Pakistani society, that would be projected and that is going to highlight the negative image. So this is also very important that you have to withdraw from such documentaries. So she showed persistence and she showed more commitment that this is very important, that I have to take up this issue to the world, because when we're talking of honor killing, this is not something that is just specific to Pakistan. Yes, you can say that this issue is more glamming here in Pakistani society, but this is also a global issue. Unless you are going to have a more awareness, you cannot make such any effective policy in order to address this issue. Considering these guidelines, so she compiled two documentaries. Okay, when we're talking of the first documentary, that is a saving face, and we are going to discuss that what is the background of that documentary. So what were the reasons that she made a documentary on acid attack? According to Acid Survivors Trust International, globally at that time, around 1,500 cases of acid attacks that were going to get reported in the world. But when you're talking of Pakistani society, according to BBC report, the statistics of acid survivors trust international, they were endorsed. Yes. Uh, on average per year, 1,500 cases of acid attacks, they are going to be noticed. But more than half of these cases, they are just pertinent to one country, and that is Pakistan. And according to BBC reports, annually 786 incidents they were reported in 2015. Sorry, in 2011. Okay, and when we're talking of the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, only 10% cases of acid attacks, they are going to be taken to courts. And when we say that if a person becomes a victim of acid attack, how much chances are there to get survived? So if a person becomes a victim of acid attacks, only 30% chances are there that the victim would survive. Otherwise, victim would be dead in such scenario. Okay, and whatever the number that we are going to see here, that only you can say 786 incidents they were reported just in 1 year. So this number is just 30% cases of the actual cases. Okay, so it means 70% cases they remain unnoticed and they remain unregistered in Pakistani society. Okay, so whatever the number of incidents of acid attacks that is reported here in Pakistani society, half of these cases they are going to be done just in southern Punjab. When we're talking of Rahim Yar Khan, Multan, Muzaffargarh, and Bahawalpur, so basically 50% cases they are going to be registered in these areas. What is interesting here, that whatever the actual number of acid attack is, 50% is part in Pakistan, and whatever that is going to get reported in Pakistan, 50% that relate with the southern Punjab. Okay, what are the reasons that why less number of acid attack is going to get noticed and less number is going to get registered? The first thing is that our society, this is our mentality, this is our patriarchal society, where if a male does any act, that is not going to be considered as a crime. At the same time, we deny that no, it happens and we have the powers. On the other hand, we we are going to take in a very in a very lighter note. This crime is not going to be taken due attention. Okay, what and we can prove through certain statistics. According to Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, the number of acid attacks from 1994 to till 2008, the number was 7,800. Okay, and their conviction rate was only in 2%. Okay, so it means we are not going to take in a very serious way, and we don't think so that it is a very dangerous situation, and this is the eye-opener fact and something like that. And again, there's also lackadaisical response of our women, that they are not going to register their cases of acid attacks due to illiteracy, due to poverty, due to lack of legal education, or due to any proper guidance or something like that. There will be multiple factors. And again, when we're talking of role of law enforcement agencies, that we have an issue of weak prosecution, and at the same time our prosecution is not going to get separated from investigation, and the victim is of the view that although she's going to spend time and she's utilizing her energy, at the end of the day, since conviction rate is very low, so obviously offenders, they would get bail from the court. There are multiple reasons. And then you can say lack of effective solutions, that we have not provided such strict framework to which the offenders, they would be made accountable. Okay, what is very important in these documentaries, that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy really did a very great job of highlighting such injustice, and she pinpointed such issues, especially when we're talking of acid attacks, honor killing. What was very important? Basically, Pakistan is a member of international community, and Pakistan is also signatory to various international commitments. And we have made our certain international commitments that we have to make such measures, we have to make such parameters through which we are going to ensure gender equality, and we are going to protect women. So the first example that could be Universal Declaration on Human Rights. As you know very well, that it was passed on 10th December 1948, and Pakistan was a founding member, and Pakistan is also signatory to Universal Declaration on Human Rights. So when we're talking of Article 3, that relates with individual freedom and individual protection, and when we're talking of Article 5 of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that relate that no one can be given inhuman treatment. And when we're talking of this acid attack, so that comes under inhuman treatment. And Article 16, that relates with the freedom of marriage and right to marriage, that everyone is free. So you cannot dictate someone to get married against his or her own will. So basically, if you are going to deprive someone in the name of honor, and you are not allowing someone to marry at her own will, it means that is also violation of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Okay, so Pakistan is also signatory to Beijing Conference that was held in 1995, and that is also known as the Fourth World Conference on Women, and that relates with the women equality. Okay, and then you can talk of CEDA. CEDA is Convention on the Elimination of All Form of Discrimination Against Women. And as you know very well, that CEDA was adopted by United Nations in 1979, and that was ratified in 1981, and Pakistan ratified it in 1996. So that was objective that was also asked in your objective paper. Anyhow, so according to CEDA, that we have to make such measures, and we have to where we are going to promote equality, and we have to highlight that what are the discriminatory laws where women, they have been deprived, you can say, undue treatment. Okay, so again, that is our obligation. And then you can talk of a convention of the rights of child, and here, when you're going to deprive someone in the name of honor, and you are going to throw acid on any female, so again, that is a violation of that convention. And then you can talk of International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. The Convention on Rights of Child, Pakistan ratified it in 1990. Okay, and when you talk of International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, that was adopted and that was ratified in 2010, and Pakistan was also founding member of this convention. So again, this is our international commitment, and that is a binding on us. This is our legal obligation under international law, that being a signatory to this convention, we have to ensure such environment where all civil rights, socio-political rights, they are going to be provided freely to all individuals, irrespective of their sex. Okay, and when we can talk of sustainable development goals, and when we're talking of specific goal number 5, that relates with gender equality and protection of a woman. So it means that we have some international obligations, that it is our prime responsibility that women, they need to be dealt on equal footing. And when we're talking of honor killing, when we're talking of acid attacks, it means that is a breach of our international obligation. So that was very important for Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, and she did a very wonderful job by highlighting such issues which women, they were going to face in their daily lives here in Pakistani society. Okay, so Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy did a very good job by when she compiled her first documentary, Oscar-winning documentary, that was A Saving Face, and she received Oscar award in 2012. So the purpose of that documentary was to highlight injustice, inequality, and to make international community aware of this evil, social evil. So not necessarily that is, you can say it is important for Pakistani society, and that is very essential for Pakistani policy maker to make strict measures in order to handle such social evil. At the same time, that is a responsibility of the international community as well, that they have to take such measures, they have to frame such parameters, and they need to make such rules and regulations for which women, they are going to be protected across the globe. So women, they are going to enjoy their better future. Okay, so in Saving Face, uh, many interviews, they were conducted, but mainly and specifically two victims, they are going to be discussed in detail. Okay, and story of two victims, that is going to be highlighted by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy in her documentary Saving Face. Okay, what are the goals of first documentary? The goal of the first documentary was that you have to highlight the complications of such acid training. There are two types of complications. First, there are medical complications, and there are some social complications. When you're talking of a medical complication, so you can talk of that when acid is thrown on any victim. So basically, there's an immediate damage and there's a severe pain. At the same time, a person is going to face disfigurement and other medical complications. The victim cannot see properly, and the victim cannot even eat, and he cannot drink very well in a very convenient way. But on the other hand, there are certain social complications, that when you are going to throw acid on any girl, it means you are going to ruin the life of that female, and she can never see herself in actual position as she was created by God. And at the same time, she has to hide her face as well, because she cannot express herself in a respectable way, and whenever she's going to visit public places, she needs to cover her face. And there are certain limitations, that she cannot participate in much social gatherings. Then she avoids her participation in various social festivals, and she's going to consider herself as an isolated part of society. And at the same time, when we're talking of the attitude of the family members relating to that victim, even they don't feel comfortable, and sometimes family members, they are reluctant to have a mixed gathering with the victim. And what you think, so that what are the possible thoughts for the victim? So ultimately, the victim uh, wishes for death, because because that victim, or you can say that girl, cannot face such humiliation, and she cannot face such insult and such a derogatory attitude of the society towards the victim, that compel a victim to think on such a line, that she has to leave the world. That is the only solution. Okay, and at the same time, if the victim thinks that I need to pursue my case, I need to go for legal option, and that offender needs to be made accountable under the law. At the same time, that victim has to face some threats from the offender. So this is very difficult. That at the same time you are going to face difficulty how you need to resume your life. But on the other hand, you have to tackle some threats also through which you can start your life very well. And in the first documentary, another important thing that was highlighted that relates with our justice system. As you know very well, justice delayed is also justice denied. That is a tantamount to justice denied. And unfortunately, we have so legal issues in our judicial system, and there are so legal lacunas, certain weaknesses through which victim, it is very difficult for a victim to seek justice in a very speedy way, and unconscionable amount of time is spent for justice. Okay, if you can talk of possible reasons of acid attack, so there could be the multiple reasons. So I have prioritized them depending on the number of the cases. So the most number of cases for acid attacks which are going to registered, they relate with your money disputes, land disputes, and property disputes. Then you can talk of certain refusal or rejection, and refusal or rejection that relates with your marriage, sex, and love. And the third, that is a marital disputes, fourth family related disputes, and the fifth one is a dowry related, and then other category, maybe you can say that any issue that is not mentioned here. Okay, now I'm going to talk of the first documentary, that is a saving face, and that saving face documentary is going to talk of two female. First is Zakia Praveen and second is a Ruxana. So let me start with Zakia Praveen's story. Okay, so Zakia Parveen, acid was thrown on Zakia in 2009 when she was at the age of 37, and she was a mother of 4 children. But later on, she settled to Barako, and basically her husband, Pervez Iqbal, threw that acid on her face. Actually, from the beginning, Zakia was not having a good relationship with her husband, and her husband was also a drug addict, and he used to take alcoholic drinks, and he used to you can say that he was using even abusive language against Zakia as well. So when Zakia stopped to give money to her husband at that time, uh, he became more aggressive. So what was the option for Zakia in such situation? So Zakia thought it's a very better that if I'm going to dissolve this marriage. So she went to court for dissolution of a marriage, that I need to get isolated, I need to get separated from my spouse. At that time, during the third hearing, when she was leaving the court, at that time, her husband basically he threatened her that you have to face some severe consequences if you're going to seek separation. And then he threw battery acid, that is a pure acid, on her face. And her case that was taken by Mrs. Sarkar Abbas, and in that case, the outcome was that ultimately uh, her husband, that was Pervez Iqbal, he was given life imprisonment on 2 counts. Okay, you can say twice life imprisonment was awarded by court. Okay, and her surgery that was made by Dr. Muhammad Jawad, and you can have a look over the picture here as well. Okay, and the second story in her first documentary, Saving Face, that relates with Ruxana Yasser. Ruxana Yasser became a victim at the age of 23, and Ruxana Yasser belongs to Muzaffargarh. And you know what is the importance of Muzaffargarh, because when you're talking of Mukhtara Mai, so basically Mukhtara Mai also belongs to Muzaffargarh. Uh, you can say, not you can say, but this is a fact, that Ruxana is living uh, in the neighborhood of Mukhtaramai village, that is Meerwala. Okay, so in this story, her husband threw gasoline on her face, and when she took her case to the court, at that time, custody of the children was given to Ruxana, and her husband, he was given sentenced to prison. Okay. Uh, but she was having no other option, although she was not willing to make reconciliation with her husband. But due to societal pressure and due to certain compelling social situations, she was having no other option, because her children, they were not feeling well, and due to ailing condition of her children and due to her poverty, at the same time she was not educated and she was illiterate. So there were multiple factors on the basis of which she thought that it's better, that I cannot afford medical expenditures of my children, so actually I have to patch up with my husband. And then she moved to her in-laws. Okay. And when she moved to her in-laws, there is another issue that she was going to face, that a separation of separation was made, that was of a brick wall was constructed, and she was not allowed to visit her daughter. Again, there was some sort of a issue, because it doesn't look nice that you have very ugly face. So it doesn't look nice if you're going to meet your daughter. And this story is also highlighting another issue, that women in our society, they do not have a freedom over they do not have freedom over birth. Okay. For example, you can say birth control, this is not something you can say that is in the hands of women. Okay. So when Ruxana conceived, at that time she was hoping and she was praying that I should give a birth to a male child. Why? Because she was thinking on such a line that if I give a birth to a female, it means I have uncertainty and there's an unpredictability in the future of a female in Pakistani society, as she has been suffering from a very, you can say, difficult situation. If she gives a birth to a female child, again it might be possibility that her daughter is also going to face the same issue. So she cannot afford this alarming situation in future. So it's a better if she's going to give a birth to a male child. So again, this story is highlighting the characteristics of patriarchal society, that we have a more male chauvinistic attitude here. Okay, so when we are talking of the conclusion of her first documentary, that is Saving Face. So basically, this story, or you can say that this short documentary film, that was acting as an eye opener, and that documentary basically took attention of the policymaker, that we have to think on certain lines, that you have to educate women, and you have to increase literacy rate in Pakistani society. As you know, the current literacy rate of Pakistani women, you can say female literacy rate currently, that is a 46.5% according to Global Gender Gap Report 2021. So you have to retrace the literacy rate of women. Okay, at the same time, you have to give awareness that you should not patch up, you have to fight up your case, and you need to resume your life rather than going for death and something like that. Another important lesson was that rehabilitation is also very important. If any individual, if any girl is going to become victim of acid attacks, then you have to take such a measures that rehabilitation of the victim should be done in a very decent and effective way. And this documentary is also highlighting the resilience and bravery of Ruxana and Zakia, because they survived, and at the same time they fought their uh, you can say they fought their case of uh, dignity, and in order to start their life as well, or something like that, you can say. And this documentary is also highlighting the shamelessness on the part of a man in these two stories. uh, Husband of Zakia and Ruxana, they were having no guilty. They were thinking on such a line that it happens, and this is a quite normal thing, and they cannot be made responsible. So they are responsible if they're going to face and if they're going to be suffering from any condition. So again, that was a very wrong attitude that is unfortunately that is linked with men. And this documentary is also building confidence in women, that even they are going to they have been suffering from very difficult situation, but still there are chances that they can smile, that they can mix up with society, they can go for other things as well through which they can resume their lives. So basically it built confidence in the victims. And this case study also highlighted the positive attitude of the ACID Survivors Foundation, that ACID Survivor Foundation provided very good treatment to women, and that foundation played a very significant role, that how these women they could be made active part of society. And at the same time, you can say that this documentary highlighted the issue of ACID attacks, that from even the number of the cases they're going to get high, and still unless you are going to make some effective policies that incidents of attacks they cannot be overcome. So even you can think, according to World Area, so basically there was, when we compare statistics from 2013 to 2016, so you can say earlier the number of cases they were 15% and they were increased to 21%. It means some legal measures, some strict measures are required. Otherwise, you cannot handle the issue of acid attacks. Okay, so fortunately and ultimately, the policymakers they understood that yes, we have to make more strict laws as well, and we have to think on other lines as well, that we need to provide a better facilities to victim. So the first law that was going to consider acid attack as a crime, so that was law acid control and acid crime prevention bill that was passed in 2010. And in that law just life imprisonment was awarded to any, you can say, offender. But second time a law was passed in 2011, that is known as the acid control and acid crimes prevention act 2011. In this law, two things they were done. First, you have first of all, minimum punishment was fixed. That minimum punishment would be 14 years and maximum punishment would be up to 25 years. That is a life imprisonment. And the second thing that was good in that law, that uh, financial compensation was awarded, that 1 million fine would be done. Okay, when you're talking of a 2017 law that is known as the Acid and Burn Crime Bill 2017, it made more, you can say, it has more good feature. That first of all, rehabilitation and medical services of the victim they would be done free of cost. Okay, and the second thing that uh, in acid attack cases, trial would be done on in a very speedy way, and some immediate measures would be taken. So it is a very good thing. Okay, so the purpose of such a legislation was that women they need to be protected in the future, and this society needs to give a better future to women, so they could also enjoy a better life. So you have to end structural violence as well as you have to end direct violence. And this case study also highlighted the positive role of Mrs. Sarkar Abbas, because she was going to handle this case complementary, and she was not charging anything in this case. And last but not least, this documentary highlighted the role of Dr. Muhammad Jawad. He was London based, he was a Pakistani, he used to visit Pakistan after every 3 months, and he was going to hold her medical clinic free of cost. So basically, the social services of Dr. Muhammad Jawad, they were also appreciated here in this documentary. When we are talking of the second documentary, where Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy received Oscar award, that was in 2016, and the title was "A Girl in the River: The Price of Forgiveness." Okay, why it was very important to go for this documentary, because at that time United Nations Population Fund uh, organization highlighted the issue of honor killing. That honor killing on annual basis, almost 5,000 cases they were going to get registered. And honor killing is not something that you can say it is a link with the Pakistan or a link with some other religions. So in many religions, on the cases of honor killing, they are going to be reported. Even in Islam, you can say in Muslim society, even in Christianity, and in even Hinduism as well. So you can say there is some misinterpretation of religion or some other factors, but still, in these communities, the cases of honor killing, they were going to get noticed. And according to the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, in 2015, because this documentary that was made in 2016, so in 2015, the number of cases of honor killing, they were more than 1,000. And if you can talk of that, what could be the possible reasons for honor killing? So the possible reasons would be that mostly because we're living in a patriarchal society, and it is going to be believed that girls they cannot leave home with outsider without the permission of husband. Okay, so if they're going to leave with outsiders, so basically that is tantamount to tarnishing the reputation of a particular family, and that is considered as an insult. Uh, that how it is possible that a female is going to take any decision at her own will, and then they're going to deprive a female of her life, and they have no shame, and the family members even they do not regret that we have taken a very bad decision, and they feel happy that in case of honor killing, if they are going to spend their whole life in jail, so that's not a big problem. So that is an honor. And when we're talking of the societal attitude, the other members of society they are going to take offender as a hero, that they are the really honorable men because they have taken very bold decision, and they have deprived girls of their lives because they bypass the social norms. Again, that is something this is going to be done on the basis of religion, and this is something that is a hallmark of patriarchal society, unfortunately. Okay, when you're talking of the goals of documentary, second documentary, that is A Girl in the River. So if there's a question about honor killing, so your heading could be implications of honor killing. And if you're talking of Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, so you can give heading like goals of second documentary, A Girl in the River. Okay, so you can say that this documentary highlights social mischief. That when a female decides to get married at her own will, and even she goes for court marriage, then her family members they are going to approach a girl that you can come home, and are going to we are going to we are going to make some necessary arrangement in a very decent way, and even they're going to take oath on Quran that we are not going to harm you. When a female shows a blind trust, unfortunately, again she's going to become victim of honor killing. So that social mischief was highlighted in this documentary. And another, you can say the class difference issue has also been highlighted in this documentary. That due to poverty, if a female, for example, you can say if a female is going to like a boy who belongs to lower class, so again female is not permitted to get married with that guy. So again that issue was highlighted. And although uh, when the documentary was made, at that time in Pakistani society, honor killing was considered as a crime. In 2005, a law was passed that honor killing is a crime. Before 2005, in Pakistani society, honor killing was not considered as a crime. Okay, so although honor killing was considered as a crime, but certain there were legal loopholes. That okay, honor killing is a crime, but if family members of the victim they are going to forgive you, then you can get bail from the court. So this is one of the reasons that people, although you have enacted such laws and you have declared honor killing as a crime, but it was not effective, because on the basis of forgiveness, ultimately you have to get bail from the court, and you don't have any threat to get punished in such a breach of law. So basically these issues again they were highlighted by this documentary. And this documentary also highlighted the economic situation, that when a female faces such issue, and even if she's a lucky to be survival in this case, so she's forced to make a reconciliation and to patch with the family members, and ultimately the offenders, they are going to get released from the courts. And this documentary also highlights such issues, that unfortunately we do not have any alternative measures through which all the female doesn't want to forgive, but female is going to be pressurized not only by the family members, even by the society, by the noble people of the community as well, that you have to live in this society where cooperation is very essential, and otherwise you are going to be separated, and the society would make you a boycott if you are not going to forgive your family members, and ultimately offenders, they're going to get released. So again, that is a, you can say, our social complexity that was highlighted in this case study. Again, that is a structural violence as well, that when we are going to impose our thinking on other individuals, uh, and consequently there is some severe cases of direct violence. Okay, so this case study also highlighted the issue of helplessness, that you have your own life, you want to spend your own life in your own way, but still you feel helpless. You have no supporting and conducive environment through which you are going to spend your life according to your own free will. So you are going to feel yourself, and you are going to bound yourself in chains. So the unfortunately that injustice has also been highlighted, where women, they are not going to get protected. Okay, so when we're talking of the story in the second documentary, that is a girl in the river, the price of forgiveness. So there's a story of Saba. Saba is 18 years old. She was living in a Gujranwala, and she was a liking Kasser, and she was interested to get married with the Kasser. But when that thing is brought into notice of her uncle, so he becomes furious, and he was of opinion that Sabah needs to get married with his own brother-in-law, and Sabah cannot be permitted to marry with Kasser because Kasser belongs to lower class. Although Sabah was also not very rich, but as compared to Kasser, Sabah seems to be on better economic terms. Okay, so that was the reason of main dispute, that she was not permitted. When Sama comes to know that my family now would pressurize, especially her uncle would pressurize to get married with his own brother-in-law, so she makes a phone call to Kesser, and she discussed the whole scenario. Then they planned that the next day, early in the morning, Kesser will come, and then Kesser will take Saba to the court where they're going to go for court marriage, and in this way the things they would be handled. Uh, so according to the planning, they do the same thing, but when they go for court marriage, after court marriage, her uncle and her father, basically they come to know that they have done a court marriage. Then they try to approach Sabah, and they try to convince, and even they sworn on Quran that it's okay, whatever you have done we respect right now. Now you can come back to home, and this is our gentleman promise that we are going to make your necessary marriage arrangement in a very respectable manner. So it would also, you can say, it would also not tarnish the image of our family. So again, Saba made a mistake, and Saba shows blind trust, and Saba is believing that things would go in a smooth way, and Saba decides, okay, I'm willing to go with you. But unfortunately, when they were on way to home at that time, uh, her father and her uncle, they shot her, and then they put her in a bag and threw in the canal that is known as a river in the movie. Okay, and why they did so, they thought that it's a better because she has taken, she cannot be permitted, it is their view that she cannot be permitted in Islam to take any decision of a marriage at her own. We have provided very good environment. We have taken responsibility of her food and of her necessary arrangements. How she can tarnish the image of our family? So in order to preserve the integrity, and you can say the character of the family. This was very essential, and it was, and they have been left with no other choice except to deprive her of her life. But she was lucky enough that she was not dead, and she managed to come out of the canal with the help of bushes. And then she approached a gas station where she asked for help, and later on she was taken to hospital where she was under treatment, and she made her recovery, and then she moved to her in-laws. And in this documentary, Asad Jamal was her lawyer, and he was providing her legal services free of cost. And later on, Vikas Bhatti replaced him. And in this documentary, the positive role of Ali Akbar, who was a criminal investigator in this case, has also been highlighted. That although police was making good cooperation, and police was of opinion that yes, offender they need to get punished. But unfortunately, because due to our societal norm, because Saba is making reconciliation, and Saba is going to forgive her father and her uncle, and ultimately they are going to get released from the court. Okay, what would be the conclusion of this case study? You can see short documentary film, A Girl in the River. So you can say that this documentary is going to highlight the issue of misinterpretation of a religion. That different religions, they are going to misinterpret, they are going to impose their own ideology according to their own mullahs or something like that. So accordingly, women, unfortunately, they are going to be given unequal treatment, and there is a gender inequality and women equality. And this case study, documentary, is also highlighting the issue of the structural and direct violence, that the issue of the patriarchy, that you being a head of the family, no one can be permitted to take a decision at her own will. That is a structural violence, and direct violence when you're going to kill someone. And again, societal norm, that because basically, as you know, Aristotle said man is a social animal. You cannot live in isolation. You have to depend on the members of other family. So automatically, through the purpose of living in a social gathering, that you can fulfill your needs in a very decent way. So then society pressurizes you that you have to forgive and you have to withdraw your case or something like that. This case study is also highlighting the courage and the bravery of Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy as well, because she was having close connection with the victims, and sometimes she also faced threats, but she managed, and she highlighted such social evils. And this case study also highlighted the lacunas of our judicial system, legal system, on the basis of which why offenders they cannot be punished, why they're going to get bail from the courts. So in 2005, when Criminal Amendment Act 2005 was passed, then honor killing was declared as a crime, but that was a compoundable offense. Compoundable offense means where there's a chance of forgiveness. If you forgive, it's okay, the case is gone, and you can get bail from the court. So when she made a documentary, so she felt very happy in making such announcements, that then Prime Minister Mia Muhammad Nawaz Sharif has telephoned her, and the Prime Minister made a promise that we are going to change the law. And later on, an amendment was passed in 2016 that is known as the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2016, offenses in the name of pretext of honor. So in that, the good thing was that now the case of honor killing has been declared as a non-compoundable offense. That even you forgive, but still you cannot get bail from the court. Okay, and the minimum, again, you can say the mandatory punishment has been fixed for 25 years. Okay, so after watching this video, there's a quiz, and you can answer such question in comment section. Okay, who is Saba in Oscar-winning documentary by Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy? Name of surgeon who treated Zakia in Saving Face, and when the Criminal Law Amendment Act was passed, and when Pakistan ratified Convention on Elimination of All Form of Discrimination Against Women. And you can also name two Oscar-winning film of Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. And last, that who was a co-director in Oscar-winning film Saving Face. If you have any question, please feel free to raise your question in comment section. Okay, and thank you very much. You may subscribe this channel for more videos. Have a good time.